Hey everyone, it's Jim
and Charles
from Mellow amps, and we're just about finished wiring up. So we're going to work on getting the 1/4-inch jack all connected up, and compared to working in the rear, there's lots of room to work.
This will be a joy.
So yeah,
there's only 3 connections that you have to make, one for each channel and one for the ground here.
So we connected the ground return wire to G here, 1/4-inch G, and we're going to twist this wire bundle, and it goes to the center right here. So you're going to drop it through the solder eye, and notice how I've put a kink in the wire. And we want to try to get the whole bundle through. I don't want to see any stray wires.
And now we've got a hand in the way here, but we'll show you how it looks like in a second. There we go.
And a little poker works really well, or a spudger. And we still haven't fastened down the top to the sides because it'll make it easier for us to work. And I'm just bringing that wire back, and I'm going to bring in the pliers. And I'm just going to make sure that that's all nice and cinched back.
Yeah, so we're just folding it back on itself and doing a little pinch. This does make it a little bit more difficult to desolder if you ever have to, but it does make for a more solid connection.
Okay, let's get our soldering iron set up. And I think 370C, which is about 690 Fahrenheit, is going to be perfect for this job. I just have to find some solder. Let's make sure we got a nice clean tip, and we do.
Oh, and we're going to watch our zip ties here, not that we're worried about them.
Caution everyone, the shrink wrap outer layer of these big caps will melt instantly if you touch them. So, and in fact,
let's move these out of the way.
These zip ties will. This is why we didn't tighten anything down yet. So let's just move them out of the road. So come in straight through the center of the amp.
Or possibly from the top down from our perspective here.
You don't want to be too close to that front plate, so be careful. So just fill that in and let it cool a little bit, and then we're going to do a little tug test and make sure we're on good. And yeah, we are. Excellent. I promised you this would be a lot easier. Now we want to get the leads off of these coupling capacitors through the nearest eye to them. So just use your needle nose pliers to bend them and position them. And if they need to be turned a little bit, don't be afraid to get in there and make a little turn. And you can wiggle around the chassis as well. And then once you get it in like that, we're going to just hold it in place, and we're going to just bend it just a little tiny bit.
Well, being careful not to bend the lead hard right where it's going into the capacitor.
Now we're going to need enough room that the chassis will actually position in its center. So something like that's looking good. We're going to neatenize that in a minute. In fact, I think it's probably going to be easier to get this one on as well. It's just a little bit different angle, but not much. And we're just going to bring back that wire, bring it through, and just give it a little bit of a return like that. And let's just
straighten up there.
Yeah, so what we've done is we've straightened the sides to the top, and I'm just looking to make sure that everything looks nice and neat. After we solder it, we can bend that wire a little bit straighter, but I think it's looking pretty good right now. What you don't want is a hard, straight run. You want a little bit of wiggle room in that wire. That's always preferable, because that means that if there's a little bit of movement in the chassis,
a little bit of vibration, a little bit of shrinkage, growing and shrinking of leads, it's not going to stress it and break it eventually.
Yeah, so you should never have basically a zero wire connection or zero lead connection unless it's hard to aboard. So let's stay at 370 C, which is 690 Fahrenheit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to preload a little bit of solder on our tip. Going to heat up that tab and that wire, and we're just going to fill it in now. We're going to let that cool for a moment before we can come on to the other side.
And I don't know if we've talked about this before, but these jacks are fantastic because you can actually get in here and you can clean them if you need to.
Well, they also cost a small fortune. But all phone jacks used to be of this style, of an open barrel with good quality metal spring connectors. And with modern gear, it's become so miniature that they've gone with mostly PCB mounted enclosed jacks. And they are a PETA because
once they break, you can't do anything with them. They're done.
and a lot of them are proprietary. So unless the manufacturer wants to make the part available, it's really tough to solder something else in. Okay, that's looking really good. I'm going to just check and make sure I'm roughly centered. We've got a little bit of wiggle room. You can even come in here if you want, and you can just neatenize your lead a little bit, take out any kinks that are there, but I wouldn't be too fussy about it. So what we do want to do is we want to trim back the nubbins that's on here, and we don't want bits of a lead flying around the chassis at this point. Absolutely not. So just be careful not to come in too close. That one I'm going to have to retrieve after the fact because I can't hold on to it.
There it is right there.
Okay, well, we're getting there. So now it's time, I think, to go ahead and tighten down your capacitors.
Yeah, just give them a quick look before you do that. Check to make sure that the leads aren't too hard on each end and that they haven't shifted around any during the rest of the build. But go ahead and tighten them down, and then you can trim off the excess from your zip ties.
Yeah, if you can almost see how we're basically straight down. The lead makes a 90-degree bend and then it drops straight in. So it's not, the lead's not hard against the capacitor. I wouldn't want to see it too tight like that. And watch over here. You see how we've got a post to ground? Let's see if we can get that on camera. You see that? Let's make sure that there's some space off of that. So we can actually just shift that cap forward a little bit and make sure that we have some room there, and then we can tighten this down. And let's clean up those ends. And yeah.
Other than putting some screws in, this should be a working circuit.
Okay, well done everyone.